Welcome to Overcome Yourself, the podcast, where we rewrite stories, shift mindsets, and make dreams come true. I'm your host, Nicole Tuxbury. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to the next episode of Overcome Yourself, the podcast. I am so excited to be here today. I did not ask you before we started. Kerie Logan, did I say it correct?
Correct. You said it right.
Thank you. All right. Awesome. Well, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. And you're going to talk to us about moving out of 3D, moving into 4D, 5D. I don't even know what that means. So I'm so excited to learn from you today. But go ahead and take it away. Please let us know who you are and who you help.
Okay. So my name is Kerie Logan, and it's spelled Kerie Logan. It's easy. You can just Google me, and there's so much information. For over 20 years, I have been a clinical certified hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, and a empowerment strategist. I also teach, I'm a human consciousness guide, blogger, podcaster, author. I mean, you name it. If it's going to make the world a better place, I want to learn. And then I want to educate people like I'm doing here today. And just to let all of you know, my specialty is shadow work and inner child integration and parts therapy. So I just love all that juicy, I call it juicy stuff. And in regards to human consciousness, the easiest way to kind of describe it is on the website, Master the Upper Rooms, under free stuff. You go to free images. There's images that break down what is 3D human consciousness, what is 4, what is 5. And I use this as a guide map. So, and I need to silence these phones. I am so apologetic about this. But what you do, if you're a therapist, it is a guide map to help you with your clients. Because what you want to do is everyone, when they come to you, they have a pain story. Everybody. That's why they're there. Why do I have anxiety? Why do I have depression? Why do I feel so hopeless, so powerless, so angry, full of hate, revenge, all of that stuff? And all of those thought patterns, behaviors, and emotions exist in 3D human consciousness. And it has actually been clinically proven by Dr. David Hawkins that this actually works. He did all the clinical trials on different people. The only difference is he never completed his work and broke it down into 3 segments, like what is 3D, what is 4D, what is 5. And why I say this is in 2012, when I wrote my first book, Affirming and Focusing on Living a Better Life, I channeled all that information. It's like I woke up one day and Spirit said, you're going to write this book, and here's the table of contents, and sit in front of your computer and start typing. And when I got to chapter 2, understanding the power of our emotions, that's when I channeled this information about human consciousness. And a lot of people think I might have channeled Dr. David Hawkins, because when I tried to reach out to him that same year to tell him, do you know what you found? It's like the Holy Grail. He died. And it was really sad. So what speaks to me and flows through me said, start coaching people on this concept. Have everyone align to the vibration of love, which vibrates the very first step of 5D human consciousness. So let me break this down for everyone so they can comprehend. The lowest thought pattern and emotion we all have is shame, humiliation, suicidal thoughts. There's sexual abuse. You feel dead inside, numb. You think you're damaged or broken. You're wounded. You feel unworthy. That's where all our core wounds start. Is it really is at the bottom prethula? The next one up, which vibrates at the energetic frequency, is at 30 is guilt, remorse, judgment. You feel inadequate. We blame shift. You feel like a victim. You have suicidal behaviors and escape behaviors. And some people also have a salvation attitude. At 50, there's despair, hopelessness, depression, helpless. You feel abandoned, defenseless, powerless. You're stuck in poverty, victim mentality. You feel paralyzed. Then there's 75, which is grief, regret, sadness, heartbroken. The future looks bleak. You feel like a habitual loser. You think you're a failure at everything. There's dependency there. That's where the codependent lives. And you have addictive behaviors and remorse about the past. 100 is fear, anxiety, nervousness, guarded, hypervigilant, suspicious, worrywart, wishy-washy, fear of failure, second-guessing yourself. The mind stews often. We all have this. 125, greed, lust. People are disposable. You're power hungry. Prestige is on your mind. You yearn for sexual approval. There's vanity, enslavement, adrenaline junkies, unsatisfied cravings, envy, jealousy, competition, and cheating. Then 150 is anger, hate, impatience, bitchy, spiteful, bitter, cruel to animals and people, self-destructive behaviors, vengefulness, injustice collectors, and you have thoughts of war and death. And then the last one in 3D human consciousness is 175. It's where you're prideful, but it's the egotistical prideful. You're cold, self-righteous, scorekeeper, defensive, inflated ego. You deflect the truth. You're demanding, two-faced gossip, a bully, a control freak, judgmental, black and white thinking. Okay, so if you work with anyone, you look at it is, where is this person stuck? And then you grab the chart for 40 human consciousness. And the first step, the very first step is the frequency of 200, which is courage. The courage to do something different. You respect yourself. You're curious about how you can look outside the box. You have a healthy sense of pride. You're confident. You're liberated, you're feasible and flexible, and you're determined. And that's where you solve solutions. And at 250, it's where you're satisfied with life. You have an inner confidence. You're adaptable, grounded, balanced, centered, non-judgmental, problem solving. So let me give you a good example before I move on. When everyone gets angry, what do we tell them to do? Calm down.
Calm down.
Get grounded. Yes. Get balanced, to get centered. We're telling them to raise up out of anger into a state of neutrality, because we all know if you don't calm down and you make a choice, it's going to sabotage yourself. You're going to regret it. And you're going to feel like a loser and all that. So it's there. We're all telling each other, supporting one another. No, this is where you solve your problems at a higher state of consciousness. Make sense?
Yes.
Yes. And so that's what I call baseline. I want everyone to master baseline, which is the frequency of 200 and 250, where every day, whatever it is in your life, you can look at it differently and not feel stuck or trapped or in that mindset of a victim or lack of, I don't have enough money or whatever it is. But when you start to master each of these, 310 is like you're optimistic, you're upbeat, you're willing to change, you're hopeful, inspiring, you're genuinely friendly, you're helpful to others, you're contributing to society, you're sympathetic, you're playful, open-minded. When you can do that for yourself and others, it's amazing. Because all of this is about what we can do for us and for others. So then 350 is acceptance. And today, actually, on the Undetected Narcissist, I posted a new podcast called Grace Through Acceptance. And I even included a free guided meditation on there to really help people understand that when you think of yourself as a river and you're flowing through life, you're going to encounter a boulder or a rock. And a lot of us get mad when it's in our way. We want to break it down and beat it up and fight with it and everything. But what if that rock or boulder is your teacher? And there's a lesson within that. And once you see the gift within that, boulder, that person, that experience, then you can flow around it. You don't have to move it. You understand it and you take grace to just flow around it, and you keep on your journey in life. And so, a technique that I tell people when we're around those toxic, dysfunctional people, whether it's a family member, a coworker, a boss, your partner, how they trigger you is through their words, through their actions. And so a technique I taught myself, it's called seeds blowing in the wind. And I talk about this in the podcast episode, is when that person triggers you, think of it as a seed blowing in the wind. And you have a choice. Do I grab it and water it with my thoughts and get angry and disappointed and fester and it grows roots and it just wreaks havoc? Or do I recognize it and let it blow on by? I don't attach to it. I don't put any meaning to it. I realize this is projection. They're trying to
Mhm.
suck me in. They're trying to bait me. They're trying to get a reaction out of me. And sometimes silence is golden. You just let it float on by. It's your saving grace.
Yes, I love that. And it makes me think of uh, learning the laws of power. One of them is if people think you're stupid, I remember this was very important to me at a certain time, let them. If someone thinks you're stupid, let them. It's not your
Yeah.
job to convince them how smart you are. You let them operate at that frequency and let them underestimate you and see what happens. Um, and I just remember a time where that was something that was coming up for me there, with the acquaintances, just, we have to deal with people when we have partnerships, when we have, work that involves others. And so that was really helpful to me. And that's what it makes me think of, what other people think of you is absolutely none of your business. So yeah, so keep it, like it doesn't matter.
Yes, because the most important relationship you will ever have is a relationship with yourself. And a lot of times we forget that we are included in the equation. So, in that area of 350 of acceptance, the very next one is forgiveness.
Mhm.
And I did an episode about how to forgive the unforgivable. And I tell you exactly what I did and how liberating it is. When you're at 350, you're emotionally calm, you're level-headed, you take responsibility for your actions. Love is created within, and you realize people have the same rights as we do, as you do, and you honor equality. You're patient, you're trustworthy, you're harmonious. And then 400 is where you're a reasonable person. You have emotional intelligence. You're a truth seeker. You have a deep respect for others in the world. You are thankful, graceful, steady, wise, responsive to others. You seek knowledge and education, and you do have gratitude and appreciation. You're warm and a tender person. And all of these we have to give to ourselves and others. And so when you go up to 5D human consciousness, and it looks like this chart here, um, the very first step, yes, is love. And when I talk about love, this is unconditional love. That's one of the hardest lessons we have to learn. Hardest lessons. And it's hard to also learn it for ourselves because we are our worst critic. The things that we say to ourselves, Nicole, we'd
Yeah.
never say to our kids. Never.
Mhm.
But we do. Yes. And so when you master unconditional love, you're playful, cheerful, nurturing, supportive. You have true happiness. You're magnetic and you have this clear mind and you're a compassionate person. At 540, it's where you're joyful. You feel complete. You know that everyone is one, and love becomes more unconditional, and you're consistent, and the world is illuminated, and you desire to support others in achieving a higher level of consciousness. That's what I'm doing here. And 600 is where you're a peaceful person. You have serenity, it's limitless, you're spiritually awakened, you have a great understanding of the world, there's saintly qualities, you have pure spirituality over religion, and you're continually evolving. And this is where, yes, you are one with the Christ consciousness and the God consciousness. So that's like when people say, oh, you chant, like I worked with a Catholic nun once, and she's like, do you know God talks to you? And I was like, how do you know? And she said, because everything you said in your recording and everything you described, I was seeing and feeling before you even said it. It's like you were holding my hand, walking with me on this journey every step of the way. And I said, I was. Because before I hit record, I'm praying for you. I'm connecting to you and the God consciousness above. And I allow it, that wisdom to flow through me because it knows how to heal you of your PTSD, of your traumas. And I trust it and I believe in it. And so, like with that Catholic nun, in 2 sessions, she was cured of her PTSD. And she tried going through the church and all of other avenues. But so many people in the community told her about me and was like, no, you've got to see this woman. So then the last
Mhm.
one, yeah, it's a beautiful story. And the last one is 700 to 1,000, which is pure consciousness. So when people meditate, we raise our vibration and we connect to that. We connect to it.
Oh, that is incredible. And you mentioned in the beginning, you said that you specialize in working with the shadow self. So, how does this then revert back to the shadow self, right? Because we're talking about all these levels. Um, what do the numbers signify? Is just are we just quantifying?
It's because we are energetic beings
Hmm.
having a human experience. These are the frequencies, the
Okay.
energetic levels that we have. So when you think about shame and all those 3D thoughts and emotions, we feel miserable.
Hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
we're stuck in the dark. It's a pit of hell, if you want to think about it that way. And when you get up to 4D, you can see the light. It's like the light at the end of the tunnel. This is what I need to do in order to heal. Yeah.
In there.
Yes, it is. And so you have to step outside of that box of a narrow perspective and you need to raise on up. You really, because that's where all the solutions are. The positive, healthy, healing solutions are in 4D human consciousness. So, like a really good example is I've been working on some material about healing happens in layers. And I use my son as a good example. So, when we look at an iceberg, floating in the ocean, we only see the first 10% of the top of the iceberg, but 90% of it is down below. And so what happens, I told my son, is when you first came home from being traumatized by a complex narcissist, you were so full of hate and anger and rage, you wanted to kill him. And you had to chip away that first 10% layer. Then you had to integrate it. And you had to be patient and wait for the rest to float on up because you needed your nervous system to adjust. And then when you looked at that new 10%, you're looking at it through new eyes. You look at it differently. And I said, so if you think about your healing journey from there, you're at a place right now in your life where you are ready to forgive them, forgive your dad. You're ready to find acceptance towards your dad because you realize he was abused as a child. You realize that his alcoholic dad made him, molded him into who he is. And when I said that to him, he looked at me and he smiled, yes, because I prayed that, God would turn me into a flower so I could grow and evolve. And God gave me rain. I mean, this is coming from a 17-year-old boy. I was just like, oh, I love you, child. I love you, my son. And he really is realizing that Yes, healing does happen in layers, but we have to be kind and gentle and patient to ourselves. We live in a world where we want instant healing, instant gratification, and you
Mhm.
can't take the whole iceberg at once. It's impossible.
That's a great analogy. Um, yeah, I love that. And it actually made me think like, when you're in the pool and you're floating like, like straight down, only your head is above water, right? Like the rest of you is
Yes.
underneath, and it's kind of the same thing with the iceberg. Um, Real quick, because I guess like that's the shadow self, right? Can you define shadow self for
Yes.
those out there that
Yes.
have heard it but are not sure what it is?
So think about our shadow, and everyone has a shadow side. Think about the
Mhm.
seven deadly sins, okay? And my son was stuck in anger and rage and hate, vengefulness. That was his shadow side coming out. And when you integrate it and you heal it, you learn to master when you're triggered by something that's going to make you full of anger, hate, and rage, you don't do it. It's kind of like you create this sacred vow with yourself as do no harm. And so let me give you an example. If you know about spiritual narcissism, a person that has spiritual narcissism is they have mastered their dark side. They did not heal it, they did not integrate it, and they use it as a weapon against people. So a lot of nuns, a lot of priests in the old days would say, I have the right to abuse you because it's God's will. And it is not, because our creator would not abuse a child. Our creator would not put a child in that situation, but they're justifying it and they're validating it in the name of God. So
Mhm.
it's the complete opposite. They get pleasure out of causing and inflicting pain and suffering. They believe that the way through healing is through pain and suffering. And I do have that same shadow side. I do, because I was abused as a child. So I recognize it. And how I recognized it and actually felt remorse and guilt is I'm admitting in this episode that I spanked my kids 3 or 4 times and I felt such grief and sadness. It hurt me. And I tried every other parenting tool I had, but our kids know how to get under our skin. They love sometimes to make us snap and break. And so I have to honor my vow that do no harm. But then other people say, "Oh no, smack that kid and bring give him a come to Jesus moment." And it's just like, "No, that's not the way it's meant to be." Either you feed the ego through the darkness or you embrace the light and do no harm. Does that explain it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As far as the shadow self, absolutely. Um,
Yes. So let's say about lust. If you watch some of those shows like Too Hot to Handle, those are all people stuck in lust. Lust, lust, lust. Everyone is disposable. I'm going to get my sexual needs met. But it's always a
Wait, is that
crazy,
like a soap opera or like a reality show? I'm not
it's a
familiar.
reality show.
Okay, so a
Yes.
reality show, I can
Yes.
imagine,
Reality
like with the other
show
ones out
of,
there, yes.
yes. And they make these people abstain from having sex. They'll actually, there's like an amount of money where there's like, I think $50,000 on the plate. And if you kiss someone, it depletes the money and everyone suffers. if you have if you fornicate or if you do gentle petting or whatever, it decreases it and everyone suffers, because it's trying to teach these people how to form an emotional connection instead of a superficial one where they're just using people. So it's
Mm-hmm.
the shadow self versus, I want deep emotional connections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, because the shadow self, those things are very superficial. And I was doing an episode earlier, we were talking about drinking and how, when you're done drinking, you're done having the hangover, like those emotions are still there. And the same thing goes, with sex. Like you might use that as a way to numb yourself, But, when everybody goes home and you got to sit there by yourself, like it's all still there. Like you still got to deal with it. And so, yeah, and it's learning that's what we need is that emotional connection. Like we need that as much as we need air, as much as we need food, as much as we need water. We need community. We need connection with other humans. We need touch, like literally hugs and touches and practicing gratitude, just spending time together. Oops. Oh, sorry, I dropped something. Sitting down next to each other, all of those kinds of things. Like we literally need them as humans. So that's a big deal. I agree. Mm.
Thank you for saying that, because that is pure, honest truth. We all need it. And that's when like I was working with a gentleman yesterday, and he wanted to work on performance anxiety in the bedroom. And I said, "Aren't you tired of wearing a mask? Why do you have to perform? Why don't I said what your soul is really seeking right now is more deep, meaningful connections." And he said, "Actually, you're right. My partner's the one that's struggling with my performance anxiety." I said, "Orgasm should not be the end result goal." And he said, "Exactly. I've been trying to explain that to her." And I said, "Yes, but she's stuck in the mindset of sex equals love, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't." And he said, "I know. I've been trying to tell her that it's so much more meaningful if we have a deep conversation and we hold each other and we snuggle and we cuddle each other and we fall asleep in each other's arms." He's like, "I want that. My heart longs for that." And I'm like, "You don't need performance anxiety. Forget that." Because she's wanting you to wear a mask and not honor your authentic self. She wants you not to honor what is your heart calling for you. If you want to grow, you want to evolve, you don't want to pretend anymore.
Mm-hmm. I think it's all like really what it all boils down to is communication. Communicating with ourselves because we have a really hard time, even though we spend all day talking to ourselves, we have a hard time communicating, right? Like figuring out what do we want and communicating with others. Like that's the plot of every movie. It's just bad communication for the most part, right? All right. So you did mention that you had something special for the audience. You mentioned a gift. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
So there's actual several gifts. If you go to mastertheupperrooms.com, free stuff. There's free images, free MP3 downloads, there's free ebooks. If you like what I say and you're like, "Huh, she's an interesting person," I also do a free 15-minute consultation. And you tell me your pain story, I tell you what I got, what I get. And and I give you options. Well, you could try this, you can listen to this. Do you want a custom recording? What do how are you stuck? Let's get you unstuck. And so, yes, there are lots of free things, and even on YouTube, there's free meditations. There's on the podcast. There's a lot of free stuff on there as well. It's all designed to educate and help people. And it's so cool because I posted today or yesterday that one about grace through acceptance, and I looked at the status, and the meditation's been listened to a lot more than the actual podcast. So people are listening to it and using it, because I tell you, hey, if you're about to go talk to your boss or a family member, listen to this first. Get grounded, balanced, and centered. Get in that mindset of, okay, it sounds so weird to say this, but you're walking into a war zone. You
Yeah.
are. And how can you set healthy boundaries? How can you speak your voice? If you're stuck in that 3D mindset, it's just going to destroy you.
I love that. Um, yes. There's like a bunch of thoughts coming in at the same time. So, let us know how we can stay in touch with you on social media so we can get more of this goodness.
Yes, so I am on Instagram under Master the Upper Rooms, and also the Undetected Narcissist. The Undetected Narcissist, that I started out with Angela Meyer. That's my pen name, but this year I came out and I'm sharing the Kerie Logan part. I am also on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. You can just Google me. I mean, it's so easy to find me. But yes, I'm out there, and there's lots of information on the website, The Undetected Narcissist, as well as Master the Upper Rooms. So.
Amazing. And all of those links will be available down in the show notes. And before we sign off, we like to sign off with like your biggest tip. Like what's like the best tip that you've got for your clients?
Everything is temporary. Everything. When I went through the dark night of the soul, and it was horrific, my
Mhm.
experience with narcissistic person, that was my saving grace. Every day I had to remind myself that this is only temporary. This is only temporary. And then I would say, if you want, you could say universe, God, creator, whatever you want to say, give me a sign that is so clear I can't mistake it, because I'm ready for a sense of relief. I'm ready for a sense of relief. And you just put that out there, and every day you just try to walk in the presence of grace, because it's so hard to walk through that darkness and still try to cling on to the light, because everything around you it's so hard. I've been there, I've done it. I'm so glad I'm not in that place anymore. And
You
I'd love
grew.
to, yeah, and I'd love to inspire and just motivate people to know that there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes. Not only did you go around that rock, you were able to use that rock to help others. Like you left a map there and you were like, go around. And
Exactly.
so I love that.
Exactly. Well, because here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is, and one night I was lying in bed, and what speaks to me said, do you know you humans create them? The narcissistic, the sociopath. And I was like, what? And it said, look it up. And we actually do, out of 3 different parenting styles, and through the authoritarian, neglectful, and absent parent, and then through child abuse, trauma, and bullying. And so if we don't like these people, we need to stop creating them.
Mhm, mhm. Yes. It's like it's like the example in a superhero movie. The supervillain, they're not born that way. There was something that happened to them that made them do that. And so it's kind of like, like obviously an exaggerated version of that. But yeah, always consider the the supervillain being created by those actions, right? And that's what it is. And it's not that they're supervillains, obviously, but
Well, no, they've accepted their
yeah,
dark side, and
exactly.
yes. It's like John Wick,
Mhm.
Dexter, the show Dexter,
Yeah, that's who I thought
any
of.
Marvel movie. It's all those, yes. And the thing is, um, it it's a perfect display, unlike the Joker movie. Oh my gosh, perfect display of trauma, to where he was trying to get help, and finally he's like, no one's going to help me. I'm going to feed this darkness.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's such a good point that we created. So I love it. I love you being out here, being a light in the world, and just sharing your wisdom and really just changing lives out there. So I commend you for that.
Thank you,
Thank
Nicole.
you. Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch you guys next time on the next episode of Overcome Yourself, the podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again for tuning in to Overcome Yourself, the podcast. Stay bold, stay grateful, and keep becoming your best you. For more information and resources from me, Nicole, head over to NicoleTuxbury.com/resources. See you next time.